Hi everyone, so it's the end of the day for me. I finished off my day today. I had a busy day, so I went to church in the morning, then I came back. I made sure my equipment was picked up to be returned to Teleperformance, and then I did my final shopping of whatever I need. I just need to pick up like one or two more things, but I basically do my shopping for the month, and sometimes it takes 6 or 7 trips, but this time I just did it in 2. I did a trip yesterday and then one today. And I showed you how I divide up the meats and I freeze them. And what I do is when I'm cooking, then I'll combine that meat with like rice and pasta or something like that, so that I don't have to have too much protein, but I do have to have some protein. The good thing is that I have lost some weight, not as much as I need to, but I've lost some weight, which will help with the fatty liver disease, and that will also help with my blood pressure and all of that. It's all connected in our bodies. So that's done. But as far as the work goes, I was looking into Australia, but I'm not on that skill shortage list. They're looking for social workers, teachers. There's a whole list that they have. Here, I'm not getting anything. And I don't know why people expect you to speak to gaps in your resume, because the way they do the hiring here in this country is they hire people 3 to 6 months or 1 day, and then you're left sitting at home. For me, it's normally 1 to 2 years. And the more highly qualified you are, the worse it is, because you tell people, okay, I'm willing to take a job like as a hostess or serving or cleaning. They don't want to give you those jobs. So it makes it very awkward. And that's why I was also willing to go back to South Africa, because in South Africa, there's a lot of destination places. There's a lot of places where people come to have their weddings and big events and things like that. But now with South Africa pushing back on foreigners, that also is ruled out. So I really don't know where I'm going to land up, because it's very depressing. It's depressing to come into a country very highly qualified, fast-tracked in, and to land up bankrupt, and not for the first time. Because the same thing happened when I owned my place at Rosewell Gardens, now again. So I just hope and pray I get a break, because it's really sad. That's all I can tell you. It's really sad. And I mean, thank God I've got my health back, but who wants to stay in a country where you're not going to be given the opportunity to work, where you're going to be sitting at home, and your quality of life is going to be less than what your parents had and your grandparents had? Nobody wants that, So anyway, I'm just praying that things change for me and get better for me. And if it's not here, then in another country. Also now we've got the fires that people are dealing with, and it's not like in Zimbabwe, you can just go and work in any school or any hospital. Here, each province has different regulations, different time zones, different laws that affect it. And it's the same thing in America. If you work on the East Coast, it's completely different to working on the West Coast. So, I don't know. I was hoping that by now I would get something as an executive assistant. And there's also the cultural difference. So if you go from Zimbabwe to Europe, you're more likely to have an easier time fitting in and being appreciated than if you come to Canada, because Canada has more of the American influence. So it's almost the opposite mindset. So anyway, I mean, for me it's depressing, because I thought by now, after it's like a quarter of a century, I would be able to own a car, get my license, just have the basics in place, and none of that has fallen into place for me. So I put out an appeal to all of my past managers because I didn't just work for people here. I worked for people in Zimbabwe. I had teams reporting into me from Hong Kong, from India. I had teams reporting into me from BC. So I've put out an appeal that if they can put my name out there and try to help me to get something, I'm prepared to go, because it's over 3 years now. I've been sitting at home and I've been applying to government jobs. I've been applying in the banks. I've been applying in construction, healthcare, social work, and I'm not getting anything. And now I've got the piece for the healthcare as well, because I've got the aromatherapy piece. And unlike here, in many places of the world, you don't have to have a license for everything. You don't have to have a credential for everything. Here, you have to have a credential to work in HR. You have to have a credential to work as a registered massage therapist. It's not like that in all the places of the world. So I hope I get something. But yeah, you've seen over the years, those of you who have been following me, you've seen how many times I've had a job and I've been let go because past managers keep calling my workplaces, and people get frightened because they're like, why do they keep calling here? And they get told, including by the police, to stop calling my workplaces. They don't stop, and then they terminate me. And the same thing happened when I was working at Teleperformance. So it's like, why don't you just leave me alone and get on with your lives? They should actually pass a law, because like for me, once I leave a place, I don't go back. I just make sure they have their equipment, their badge and everything. They should do the same thing for the executive. They should pass a law saying that the executive cannot call any of your workplaces, cannot harass your new managers, cannot spoil your reputation, because I did a fine job everywhere I worked, and I had to hit the ground running. I had no training. I had no shadowing. I didn't have anybody to hold my hand and walk me down the garden path. I was expected to just come in and do the job. If I had training, it might have been 1 hour or 2 hours on the basics. Other than that, I had no training. So that's how good I had to be to work in project coordination in the banks, project management, HR work. That's how good I had to be, and it's not easy. So I hope for the best, but even with Teleperformance, I applied for jobs with them in South Africa, in Sweden, in Switzerland, in America. I didn't get anything, because they don't just have jobs on the front line where you're dealing with the phones and chats and emails. They also have management jobs. They have quality analysis jobs. They have training jobs. They have coaching jobs. So I've got all those skills. I applied for all of those, but they didn't select me for any of them. And to me, it doesn't make sense, because you've got somebody who's tenured, you've got somebody who you've trained on your systems and your processes and knows the company and knows where the pain points are and how you can make them better, and you're not willing to find that place that you can put me in. So instead you terminate me, and then you bring in somebody else. But that's how they do it here. And also the mindset of the executive is not that our employees are our biggest asset and they are our biggest strength. It's our employees are our biggest liability, because we have to pay them. So, they have a very backward mindset, because in any other place in the world, especially with your knowledge workers, they're your biggest asset. So in places like England, in Europe, before they let somebody go, they'll try to do a job share, they'll try to do a transfer them to work in another country. And even that, transferring them to work in another country, it lands up costing the company less money than terminating them and bringing in a new hire, going through the hiring process, the onboarding, and the recruiting, training them, it costs them less. So the way they do things here doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know, that's my journey, and I know many people that have gone through the same journey. Not only people who have migrated to Canada, but people who are born here. They're going through the same thing. They're like, there's no stability, you can't buy a home, you can't get promotions, you can't get a decent wage. So I'm like, you know what? When I came here, I never expected it to be like this. So anyway, it is what it is, but I hope I get something else because I'm still young. I've still got a good amount of working years ahead of me. And I wasn't asking for the world. Asking for a day shift and 8 hours a day is not asking you to change the planet. In fact, there are laws that have been passed to say that the standard working week should be 37.5 hours. If you look at the jobs in banking and places like that, that's the recommendation, that people should be working 37.5 hours and then they should stop. But when I make these suggestions and I tell them and all that, they get offended. So I'm just like, you know what? You people do whatever you want, because I'm speaking to you as somebody who knows my work, who has a degree in HR. I've worked in marketing. I'm bringing a wealth of experience to you, and you don't want to listen. So there's nothing more you can do. You can only tell them. After that, you have to just leave it. So let's see. But it's a tough situation to be in because I don't have anything else to go to. And it was the same thing up to 2017 before I got this job at Teleperformance. I took contracts because they always said, oh, there's a possibility of extension. They always gave me that hope that, oh, they might renew it. But because Credit Suisse past employees kept calling everywhere I was working, they let me go. From Ivanhoe, Cambridge, from, BMO they didn't, because I had some managers there that knew me, including Jason Peel. They just didn't renew my contract. But HSBC, Ivanhoe, Cambridge, CIBC, all those companies let me go because Credit Suisse executive and their teams wouldn't stop calling. And they spoiled my reputation because everybody said, even BMO, they said, why don't they just call you at home, because this is annoying. Like, they keep calling you don't want to talk to them, the police told you not to talk to them, and they keep calling. So it's very sad. And that's all I can say, because in terms of, they told me you can't talk to anybody here now, your contract is done. Then they said, oh no, everything's finished. Then I left that box of chocolates. Then they issued a cease and desist. And it's like, you know what? You guys need to wake up. Like, you're not the only company in the world. And you can't stop me from working in banking because you have a problem or because something's not working for you. And so you were all fighting to keep me there. You weren't able to keep me, and now you're spoiling all my other jobs. I mean, it's ridiculous. And even HR, I spoke to so many recruiters, they're like, why is Canada like this? I said, oh, you're asking me? I don't know. They're like, because we keep presenting you, you've got the Canadian experience, you've got the HR qualifications, but they're not giving you any opportunity. I said, oh, well, I don't know what to tell you. It's discrimination. The same thing with working as a legal assistant. I worked as a legal assistant in England. I worked in HR in England. None of the managers had any problem with bringing me in, with training me. Sometimes it was just a week or two. Oh, but here, oh no, but you don't have experience working as a legal assistant. So what about all my transferable skills? What about all the volunteering I've done? Oh no, it has to be recent. So there's always some barrier that they put in the way. And it's ridiculous. Anyway, what can you do? all I can do is to pray and pray for a miracle in my life and pray just like God brought me here. God will open the doors and will give me an opportunity to earn well. And I'm not joking when I'm saying that I feel cooped up living in a condo. You think you're safe living in a condo, but sometimes you're not. Like here, we've had so many problems. So I'm not joking when I say I want a big house and I want a car and I want all these things. And I've earned it. I don't see why I shouldn't be able to get those good paying jobs and have those things. If my parents could do it and they grew up in a racialized society, why can't I do it? Everything is possible in life. And even if it means going back to Zimbabwe or South Africa or somewhere and doing it there, if I can't do it here, I'll go. Because, I mean, what are they actually doing? How is it benefiting the country if they're going to keep putting roadblocks in my way, not letting me get into a decent paid job, supporting people who are sending dirty text messages instead of stopping them? How is it going to benefit the country? So anyway, nothing makes sense to me here about what they do. And the other thing is that the executives, they have their own initiatives. So they want you to support what they want. Or maybe I don't want to support what they want. Maybe I have my own things that I want to do. And so don't keep calling my companies and spoiling everything I'm doing for them, because you can't get me to do what you want me to do, and you can't get me to think like you. But I am not you. So if you want a carbon copy of you, find somebody who's willing to fall at your feet and then train them. And stop running after me, because I'm not running after you. When I came here, I didn't run after anybody. I went out there and I worked hard and I took whatever job I could and I did what I had to do. I didn't have a dream that, oh, I want to work for this executive at TD, or I want to work for that executive at Credit Suisse. No, I just took whatever jobs I could get and I made the most of them. The only thing I really wanted to do was to go into music, and that didn't work out. So I just enjoy my music for myself. But yeah, it's just this country is a complete mess as far as I'm concerned. It's a complete mess. And why do you keep bringing in more and more visible minorities if you're not going to give us those breaks? You're not going to give us those good executive assistant jobs, office manager jobs, where we have the skills and credentials and qualifications. What is the point? You don't want us here, transfer us. I've offered so many times, transfer me to England, transfer me to Australia. Don't keep me here and make my life go into poverty and waste my life. That's a sin, to waste somebody's life. It's a sin, especially if you know that they're good and they're diligent and they've got the credentials. And people put down my education, my credit. Oh, look at you. We don't even have half of what you got, and look at how well we're doing. Well, you know what? It took discipline for me to get those degrees, those qualifications. I was under a lot of pressure, not just here, but in South Africa as well. I was dealing with crime. I was going to classes in the evenings. I was going to classes at the weekend. I was working, coming home and doing my papers. So give me a little bit of respect. I've earned it. Stop making like you better than others because you didn't get your degrees and qualifications and you got better jobs. It's only by God's grace that you got those better jobs.